A guy consumed by social media will stop at nothing to go viral, even if it endangers other people's lives. That's why it's free today. Remember, if you enjoyed the videos, you can back the channel by hitting like, subscribing, and enabling the notifications. It's free and truly aids me in continued growth. Now let's kick things off. This is the tale of a boy named Kurt, who aspires to become an influencer and gain popularity on his social networks named Mundo de Kurt 96, where he posts videos with a diverse range of content in hopes that one of them will skyrocket him to fame. In some of his posts, he has shared that he was born in Los Angeles but has resided in a small town since he was young. And we also discern that his videos revolve around everyday and amusing happenings of his life. He is currently operating as a driver on a rideshare platform named Spree, offering taxi services via an app. Since he interacts with a lot of people there, he decided to equip his car with cameras to record his videos while he works. We then learn that Kurt has been creating web content for 10 years without receiving any recognition. This led him to become depressed at one point because he felt he wasn't finding himself. Until he came up with an idea he called The Lesson, which he put into action on April 12, 2009, the same day Kurt finally went viral. On that day, we see him driving his car, talking to the cameras around him to present the lesson. As he gets ready, he talks about water bottles that have a special preparation, which he showcased in a video posted the previous week. The day starts with his first trip for a man named Frederick, who, upon noticing the number of cameras in the car, starts asking what's going on. But Kurt simply tells him he uses them for protection. So the kid offers him a water bottle, but Frederick turns it down and asks to borrow his charger. Our influencer starts telling him about this live stream he did while driving to teach his followers about social media. Then this guy starts talking to him and making racist comments that don't really make sense. And this catches the attention of Bobby, who's the only one watching Kurt's stream at that moment. Later, Frederick finally agrees to take a drink of water, while Kurt turns up the music and tries to make conversation. But then his passenger starts coughing uncontrollably, wondering what's in the water he drank. That's when we see a video from the previous week, where it shows our trusted influencer injecting the water bottles with some strange liquid. And back in the present, we see Frederick trying to get out of the car, but Kurt beats him to a pulp. We don't know how much time has passed, but Kurt is about to pick up his next passenger. And that's when we meet Andrea, who asks him to store an ad in the trunk. Then she gets in the car distracted as she's in the middle of a phone argument. Without a word, the woman grabs a bottle of water and starts to drink it, which is why we soon see her passed out next to Kurt, who tells her that just like he did with Frederick, he'll check Andrea's phone to give himself a rating and tip himself $2 for his great service. He also starts replying to her messages, as he says the camera suggests it will help divert suspicion. On the way back to work, Kurt encounters a new passenger named Mario, who is more sour than the others and refuses to engage in conversation because he doesn't care about anything the driver might say. At that point, Kurt decides to accept another passenger's request, and when the man realizes, he starts arguing with him. But he has no other option but to accept since he paid the lower fare. When they go to pick her up, the girl initially rejects him, but the man insists on persuading her to get in the car, and he manages to do so when he offers the ride for free, telling her that he doesn't only work for the money. This is when we formally meet Jessie, who turns out to be a famous comedian with a large following on social media. So, Mario starts recording her and provoking her anger, and Kurt threatens to kick him out of the car if he doesn't stop. But everything spirals even more out of control when Jessie starts recording Mario to tell her followers about his harassment, and the man responds with an insult. In the midst of the unpleasant situation, the girl ends up getting out of the car and takes a bottle of water to spray Mario, and then she discards it. Afterwards, Kurt takes a shortcut as the man realizes that Jessie posted his video and starts feeling sick, so he stops at one point so he can vomit. But when Mario gets out of the car, our trusted influencer decides to reverse at full speed to run him over, and then she drives over him again, just for fun. That night, Kurt starts stalking Jessie's account and sets up the car's lighting to move forward. But first he goes to a gas station to fill up with gas while talking to his only viewer. Bobby is an influencer with a large following, and he complains to him about the boring content he's creating and tells him that he'll give him one last chance to improve his content to help him go viral. The next passengers are 3 tourists looking for some fun, so Kurt takes them to a remote dark place where they can stick their heads out of the roof while he drives at high speed. Then the tourists start having fun while live streaming everything on their social media. But things get even worse when Kurt closes the roof door so they get stuck, and when they stop, some wild dogs appear and ends up killing them, while he deals with another woman using one of his drills. Shortly afterwards, he goes to his car wash, and there Bobby tells him that no one saw his broadcast and therefore its contents are of no importance. He then recommends that she watch Jessie's content to learn how to behave like a real influencer. In doing so, Kurt thinks it's unfair that she has so many followers when he makes much more interesting content by killing people live. So she goes to Bobby's house while he's also in the middle of a broadcast to ask them for help, but he tells her he's not her co-worker and asks her to leave. Kurt ignores him, and that's why his only viewer starts focusing on him with their camera to tell their followers that he's an inattentive guy. Out of nowhere, Kurt pulls out a knife to stab him in the middle of both broadcasts. To defend himself, Bobby pulls out a gun, but our trusted influencer throws himself on him to start a struggle that ends with several shots. Kurt then focuses his camera on the dead boy on the floor, causing his views to start increasing. After a while, he goes to Bobby's bathroom to take a shower while the broadcast continues with more than 100 viewers. He also uses the boy's computer to broadcast on his account and dresses in his clothes. But then he receives a message from his father, who asks him to take him to an event with a famous DJ he doesn't know. Though he doesn't want to go, he ends up giving in when his new followers convince him. On the way, he argues with his father about his family problems and about the gun that Kurt has in the car, but the man doesn't give it much importance. When he arrives at the event, Kurt greets the famous DJ, hoping that she will help him become famous. When he asks her to tag him in one of her stories, the DJ ignores him. So he decides to leave. But before starting the car, the woman approaches him and asks him to take her to a taco truck in exchange for tagging him in a post. When Kurt arrives, he does a long photo shoot and then offers to buy her some food, though there is a long line at the stand. While waiting, the DJ walks around the car to check it completely until she finds our influencer's gun. The first thing she does is take pictures with it. Then she drinks some special water that makes her cough. When Kurt returns to the car, he finds her passed out. To make matters worse, 2 police officers arrive who from a distance notice a strange situation, so they decide to approach to investigate. The officers ask for his documents, and Kurt pretends that the passed-out DJ is his drunk girlfriend. They then force him to get out of the car to take a breathalyzer test. Out of nowhere, the woman wakes up scared and out of control, because the first thing she does is fire the weapon, killing one of the police officers. Everyone runs away, including the other police officer who begins to chase the fleeing DJ, leaving Kurt alone. So he escapes in his car while being chased by some police patrols, so he decides to drive on the highway in the opposite direction and continue the transmission of the lesson in the midst of the excitement for everything that is happening. Thus, he manages to lose the patrols when he reaches a neighborhood full of homeless people. Kurt feels unstoppable while running over more people, and at that moment he loses control of the car, so he ends up overturned. Then we switch to Jessie's show. And while she does her routine, we find out that Kurt has survived, and that he is in the same place as her doing another broadcast with more than 30,000 viewers, to whom he shows the gun he has in his hand. At that, Jessie starts to talk about her experience with Kurt's trip to make jokes about his need for attention, but she also confesses that at some point, she experienced the same thing, and for that reason she has decided that she will leave social networks for a while. Hearing this, Kurt runs out, and when he gets out, he reads a tweet from the CEO of the travel app where he announces that the company cancels its service in Los Angeles due to the events that happened in the last few hours, and that's why he decides to use another travel app. So a guy looks for him, and when he gets into the car, Kurt continues his live stream while his viewers ask him to do something funny. But he simply talks with the guy about the security camera he has on the dashboard, and the driver jokes with him that he's not the crazy guy out there. A little while later, Jessie takes a taxi from this same company without realizing that the driver is Kurt in the car of the guy who picked him up recently. He tells her that he loved her performance and that he's glad she didn't drink the special water that afternoon. At first the comedian doesn't understand, but soon she recognizes him. And it all gets weirder when he tells her that he had a major breakthrough in his life thanks to her show, and proposes merging their audiences by making an explicit video. Later, Jessie starts to freak out when she discovers that Kurt is taking her home, but she manages to strangle him with the phone charger. Though seconds later he stops her with a hard blow that knocks her out. Upon arriving at his mother's house, Kurt posts a poll for his followers to decide what he should do with Jessie. At this point, his broadcast has over 50,000 viewers, and when he sees the audience's decision, he prepares to run Jessie over with his car. But when he looks up, Jessie has disappeared. So he steps out of the car to investigate, and that's when we see that Jessie has gotten into the car to kill him. She doesn't succeed on her first attempt, which is why she starts to chase him until she eventually drives through one of the walls of the house. Although he starts to hurt her, she manages to hit him. In the end, he takes off running. Then Jessie gets out of the car and runs into Kurt's father, who starts blaming her for destroying the house. But right there, they discover Kurt's mother's dead body on the floor, and they start to believe that she's also guilty of that. As they argue, his son appears with a gun in hand and stops behind him. He starts shooting him in the back. Then flashbacks reveal that the first person our trusted influencer killed was his mother, and he did it before he left for work. Later, Jessie returns to the car as Kurt continues to shoot his father. She takes advantage of the distraction to start the car, but when she tries to escape in reverse, the car doesn't start, so she decides to run him over until she ends up crushing him against the wall. The stream has 55,000 viewers and we see that Kurt is dead, so the followers ask Jessie to get a closer look. Doing so, our influencer wakes with the intention of attacking her, but she starts hitting him with her cell phone until she finally manages to kill him. The scene ends with the comedian taking a photo with Kurt's corpse to please the viewers. Thanks to this, Jessie becomes even more famous as she becomes a reference in wrestling. Kurt, on the other hand, managed to go viral for everything he did, and also gained a large number of followers in various vlogs now associated with him and his story. This was Spree. Don't forget to like, comment on what other movies you want to see on the channel, subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss the next videos.